Hey guys, this is my vlog when I flew from Sri Lanka to Dubai and then back to Taiwan. Because there's no direct flight from Sri Lanka to Taiwan, we had to transfer through Dubai. This was my first time going to both Sri Lanka and Dubai, even though technically we were just in the airport, but they were both beautiful countries and I hope to visit again next time.
Airplane today, we have myself, Captain John Brosnan, we have
Because of COVID, Taiwan actually closed their borders against foreigners, so what was originally a 2-week trip to Sri Lanka ended up becoming a half-a-year trip. Once we arrived in Taiwan, we ended up going through all the COVID and quarantine procedures before we arrived home. So I quarantined with my dad in our own apartment, and my sister went out to sleep over at my friend's. So I finally got to open up my luggage and it was filled to the brim with snacks that I bought from Sri Lanka. It was recommended from Sri Lankan people as well as snacks that I bought from the Chinese store there. We didn't do anything interesting during quarantine, so here's just a few quarantine meals that we had. And on the 15th, I decided to paint my room. When I was in Sri Lanka, I was so bored that I started planning my room makeover. And during quarantine, I decided that I'll use this time to paint my room. Of course, all the materials were delivered to our apartment safely, and we had no contact delivery. I originally planned to do this all by myself, but of course my dad wanted to help me as well. And we finished the whole room in one day. Here's some unsatisfying, satisfying peeling. And here's the finished room. It might look super blue right now due to the lighting, but it's definitely a white. It's just a cooler tone white. And here's our last quarantine meal, prepared by my dad. After our 14-day quarantine, it just so happened to be my dad's birthday. So I woke up early on the 20th to bake his cake, and I'm making a zucchini bread and making it into a cake right now. I'll also link the recipe down below in the description if I remember which one I used. And I think this is a pretty healthy cake. It uses almond meal instead of all flour, and it also has vegetables in it, so I don't feel as guilty eating it. I'm adding both flour and almond meal into my bowl. As well as adding some baking soda. Whenever I'm making vegan/vegetarian or no egg desserts, I always tend to decrease my baking soda amount compared to what was written on the recipe, because I always find the taste of baking soda to be super overpowering, and my sister always complains about how it makes the cake have a bitter taste. I'm not really sure how to describe the baking soda flavor, but it's not pleasant, so I tend to decrease that amount, and I'd rather increase the baking powder that I put in. And then I'm adding the spices into the dry mix, and I'm not that accurate with measuring these spices because I don't think it really matters, and a little bit more wouldn't hurt anyone. Next, I'm preparing the wet ingredients. So I'm melting some butter and then also adding in the rest of the wet ingredients. Including brown sugar, vanilla extract, and the flax meal that I prepared. And the smell of sugar, particularly brown sugar and butter melting together, is really the most heavenly scent ever. I just want to have a candle that's scented caramelized sugar and butter. So while the wet ingredients are melting and middling together, I'm grating my zucchini. And then after I grated the correct amount, I drained it through a sieve so I could squeeze out all of the zucchini juice. And I know my nails look disgusting here, but I assure you I washed my hands multiple times. And then after coating the zucchini in the dry mix so that it doesn't sink to the bottom of the cake when it's baked, I'm adding in my liquid and mixing it until it's incorporated before spreading it into my cake pan. So this is a 6-inch cake pan that I got from Taobao, and I've been using it for around 3 years and I'm pretty happy with it, other than it's a little bit tapered inwards at the bottom, so it doesn't always come out perfectly, but I'm fine with it since I'm just baking at home. And now I'm going to put it into my preheated oven to bake. So while I'm waiting for my cake to finish baking, I'm just gonna start with my breakfast. So I have a bowl of oatmeal and I mixed in some chia seeds, maca powder, as well as protein powder. And now I'm just slicing in half a banana. And adding a drizzle of honey. I ended up adding in some soy milk before mixing it to eat. So now my cake has finished baking, so I take it out on a cooling rack, and of course I have to test if it's done with a toothpick, and it came out clean. I put it on top of some cups to remove the bottom before flipping it over on my cooling rack. While the cake was cooling, I prepared the frosting, but I didn't film it. And during the evening time, we went out to dinner. We went to Xiaoshuhang, and it was located in Gongguan. And we got some 小笼包, 手抓饼, 然后豆腐包. And we also ordered 红油炒手面, 烧麦, and 凉拌木耳, and they were all so good. The soup dumpling was the best vegetarian one that I ever had. And after dinner, we walked around before going back home, and here are the macarons that I prepared the day before so that the flavors would be able to develop. Now I'm getting ready to assemble the cake. So I'm putting my frosting into my piping bag, and I already have a tip fitted inside, so I could also use it for decorating. So after the first layer of frosting, I'm putting on my second layer of cake. And I think I overbaked my cake because it was a little bit hard or crusty on the top. So I think next time I'll have to bake it for less amount of time or put some foil on top. Now I'm gonna decorate the top, and because the cake was not smooth, my frosting kept melting down the sides, and it was also because of the heat coming from my pan when I was opening the piping bag. I tried to save it by putting it into the freezer, but at the end I gave up since we're just eating it with family. And then I put on my macarons as well as the candy oranges that I made the day before in between the macarons. And here's my final cake. It looks horrendous, but I tried to save it by adding some golden sprinkles as well as some candles. And my dad looks totally uninterested, but he's just taking out his phone camera to take pictures. And I could also tell that it was a bit hard when he was cutting it, but I think it would have been fine if I were to let it sit overnight so it could moisten up. And even though it looks bad, I think we all agreed it didn't taste as bad as it looked.
好吃嗎？似唔似真㗎？咦，中間仲有味嘅。Looks like a tea cake.
And I also asked my sister to guess what was in the cake, and she thought it was carrot cake, which wasn't that off since they're both spiced cake and vegetable cakes. So I asked my dad if he knew.
Yeah. Zucchini cake it's called.
There's such thing as a zucchini cake?
Yeah. Or like a zucchini bread.
It tastes just like carrot.
So that's the end of this vlog. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Love, Karin.
Oh shit, okay, God, I thought I wasn't recording.